what's up? It is GVK Collectibles, and it is Mythical Mountain Monday today. It's basically a show where I go and I talk about comics I read from the previous week. There was actually a few comics I actually missed. I missed the second issue of the Jonathan Kent story, Jonathan Kent Superman story. I forgot to pick that up. I actually forgot to put that on my pull completely. And there was another one that I read, that I picked up was the Spider-Man Life Story Annual #1 from Chip Zdarsky. I'm currently in the midst of reading Life Story, and man, I'm only through 2 issues of that book, and it's phenomenal. It's really, really good. So yeah, I can't wait to read that one in particular. But other than that, let me show you the pull list. Pretty big pull list, I would say. I got a lot of stuff. I think, yeah, there's like only one variant cover in here. So yeah, let's get on to some of my top comics for this week. And starting at number 5, it is the, so the thing you'll notice with a lot of these, I think a few of these at least, it's the end of the first arc. There's actually 2 comics in this whole thing that are the end of story arcs for their respective story arcs. So for my first comic, it is 1042, Batman Detective Comics. It is the end of Batman Pushed to the Edge. This is the final issue of the Vile arc, and like the Pennyworth, not Worth arc, and it is pretty phenomenal. It was pretty good run, pretty first good run from this team. Same team who did Detective Comics. The only difference is Dan Mori actually took a little bit of a break after this, but like the style is very similar to his. As once again, I always put the artist and their the creative teams on these comics. There's also a backup story leading to the Road to Task Force Z, which is going to be a big story with James Tynion, which is going to be very interesting. But basically, the issue leaves off with Batman getting shot with like the Vile's virus, and essentially turns into this cool-looking Cthulhu thing. Oh, so Victor Bogdanovic, he did the pencils on this, and look at that. It's like a Cthulhu Batman. There's a really, really cool one, too, in a minute. But basically, it's kind of cool, because Batman is actually trying to fight Vile, and there's this really creepy shot, which looks absolutely phenomenal. I don't know if... but basically, Batman nearly beats the crap out of Worth and drops him. Worth manages to survive as Huntress is making her way to save Bruce. And we eventually, Vile is eventually killed, where he died in the hospital, but it is really, really cool because there's kind of like this closure. Now, of course, Mr. Worth is nowhere to be found, Roland Worth, so basically it's like we don't know where the hell he is. And it's actually cool because, much like in the previous issue that was introduced, he is still kind of wearing that classic-looking Batman costume, but we learned that the coroners eventually slice up Vile, and there's some eggs that pop out, so the parasite still lives. And of course, the next thing in the state of comics is Fear State, which is going to be Time's big final event, his probably magnum opus on the comic, on his Batman run, I think. But overall, I thought it was a really, really good run. Pretty much the same entire team as Dark Detective, and it was a really, really good arc. I really enjoyed it. The art style is really, really killer. It reminds me a little bit of Spawn, since I've been reading that a little bit, and also classic Spawn, which I really enjoy. It has kind of like a Greg Capullo kind of esque style to it, which I really, really like. The backup story for Task Force Z is pretty fun too. Like Red Hood and Debbie Donovan are basically talking, trying to figure out what the hell is going on with the missing dead bodies. This will basically lead into Task Force Z. So yeah, Batman 1042 was pretty fun, pretty great. A great end to really Mariko Tamanaki's first little arc on Detective Comics. I really enjoyed it. She's probably one of my favorite writers. She did an amazing job with Dark Detective, which she did first, then she eventually got onto this book. But yeah, I'm very excited to continue the future of this book. I'm really excited to see. So next, for my number 4 pick, I guess. Yeah, number 4 pick. It is kind of shocking. It is King Spawn from Todd McFarlane. From McFarlane. This is actually a brand new #1 for Spawn, which is incredible to think since the 90s. and this is written by Sean Lewis. It has additional dialogue by Todd McFarlane, and there's a few backup stories that are done by Todd himself. But basically what happens is, the story, it's basically kind of going through this kind of more dark detective side of Spawn, which is really, really cool. And it's kind of separate, like, it's within the main universe, of course, with the Spawn universe. But basically what we learn is it opens up, like, pretty harshly with a bomb going off in an elementary school, having kids die. And I mean, it's pretty bold. I mean, Spawn comics have always been really, really bold. Like, for God's sakes, the first villain within Spawn back in the day was Billy Kincaid, who was a ice cream man who was a child killer. So that's, like, I think that's as like, you can get pretty dark. But basically, Spawn is convinced that this is actually the heaven and demons, that angels and demons are at play, because, like, the thing that's been through the whole Spawn series, like, as what I can get from it, angels and demons have kind of been influencing and fucking with humanity for a while, and Spawn doesn't necessarily like that. Sim and Al doesn't. So it is really, really cool. Like, it's really awesome just because it is a very much, you get to see Spawn instead of, like, being this kind of gun-toting. He's very much like Batman in the situation of where it's very much a detective book of where he's trying to figure out what the hell's going on within the world. And of course we do get, like, cameo appearances from Sam and Twitch in this book, which is really, really cool. They're always a main fixture of the Spawn universe. But it is really, really cool, because eventually Spawn learns that there was a demon, essentially, that is running this, not demon, this angel who got left on Hell, Metatron, I believe. I'll put the name. But, who is supposedly, you're lead to believe he was the one responsible for the bombings, but it isn't until Spawn actually finds him, he's freaking torn to shreds. And so we don't know who exactly is doing it. And we eventually cut to a cult of these kind of people worshipping this, the Plasm, Phasm? I'm not familiar with kind of biblical stuff, so it's like, I will put it down below, but it is the kind of main organization that is going to be kind of the main villain in this first arc in this book. Then we eventually learn that there is a guy in the chair who is behind the scenes. Now, I have no idea who this is. I have one possible theory of who this might be. Either one, it's a new character, or two, I know he's been dead for a while in the comics himself, but I think this is actually Jason Wind. I could be completely wrong, but, you know, it'll be interesting to see. There's also a lot of cool other things too. You get a lot of backup with these new number ones. I've noticed you get a lot of cool backups. You get a backup about Daniel Kilgore, who is another Spawn, who is eventually saved by the Redeemer, which is really, really cool, and you kind of get to learn that. Then we get to see, like, this other Spawn, which is pretty gnarly. So this is basically kind of expanding this universe with all these backups, which is pretty cool, and including, like, this kid who is the son of a mob boss, who eventually is, there's this thing called, what's it name? That it's like, Comox, who is apparently they're one and the same, so it's like kind of like a hide and Mr. Jekyll kind of situation. And of course, one of my favorite things that leads into it is the Gunslinger Spawn, where it directly leaves off where, Spawn Universe ended, the backup for that, and it kind of shows, that he's basically, he's gonna get his revenge for his sister death, and basically it ends up that he is in the 300 years later, and it's basically a tease for Gunslinger Spawn coming out in October, which I am super excited about. I actually got the Gunslinger Spawn figure, and I actually reviewed that. That will be up on the channel pretty soon. I don't know when exactly, but it will be. But yeah, King Spawn, for a number one, it is really, really good. Like, for the first, like, number one since the 90s, it's kind of incredible that we are getting a new number one Spawn comic. And also this one, this comic is, the cover that I got is done by Sean S. Sean Murray, who did like Curse of the White Knight and everything. Like, he has his own little Batman universe. I really love his art style. I think it's really unique. But yeah, I very much enjoyed this comic. I'm very excited to see where this continues to go, and I'm actually excited where the whole Spawn universe goes from here. Now we get into my third pick for this week, and this book continues to be super fun. I love this book so much. It is Robin #5 from Joshua Williamson, who is actually going to be taking over the Batman title after Time leaves, which I'm actually very excited to see that. I'm actually, because I wasn't sure if I was going to continue reading Batman, but since he's on it, I've been enjoying this. I've been enjoying DC Infinite Frontier right now. That main story is really, really great. But we eventually learn that it leaves off with where we kind of left off with everybody kind of like Dick, Stephanie, Tim, and Jason going after Robin basically to bring him back. And they all try to like get him down to, like, they have a rooftop race essentially to see who can catch him, and he's gonna go back to Gotham. But they all, like, Damian, it kind of shows like how Damian is super like well tuned to everybody within the Bat family. He knows everybody really well. Like, Jason is very, like, the emotional one, so he's able to get close. But there's actually cool moments in this where Dick and, because Dick Grayson and Damian have moments with each other, which I really, really love, because, like, they call it back to when, because when Damian became Robin, Dick Grayson was actually Batman at the time, so they actually bring that up, and it's like, then he actually is cool, because Dick actually gives Damian this little, like, this, like, wire thing that you put between his legs when it was, the trapeze bar, like this little thing that was engraved that Alfred gave Dick, and it's really, really cool, because they actually go through it and talk to him about, because Dick was very close to Robin. And I actually get to see Damian break down, and because he was really dealing with that part where it's very, very sad about of what happened to Alfred, and it's really, really cool to kind of see, because usually Damian is like this headstrong character, but to see him kind of break down is very, very unique and different. But it's like, it was cool, because eventually Dick talks, it's like, Tim, Steph, Jason, we were all Robins to Bruce first, but you were my Robin, which I really loved, and I love that callback to that. And it's just like, and basically Dick's like, oh yeah, you got this, go do what you need to do, because it's essentially learned that they all talk, and it's like, everybody's like, Bruce is gonna be pissed that you let Damian go, but he's like, Dick's like, well, it's fine. Listen, all he has to know is that his son is safe, and we went through all this when we struck out on our own. So, which is very much true, which I really, really enjoyed. And eventually we get back to the island, Lazarus Island, where the tournament is about to begin, and it's going to be super, super fun. As the next one says, lots and lots of fights. And yeah, this book continues to be really, really fun. I really love the exploration of Damian, especially too with the new Batman series that is going to be coming out. A big part of that book in particular is going to be about Batman and Damian, Bruce and Damian's relationship kind of getting mended, so, which may lead into a Batman and Robin title again, so, which is pretty cool. So anyway, yeah, Robin #5, I have nothing but good things to say about this series in general. I think it's a really, really fun book, and yeah, definitely pick it up if you can. So my next one, so much like I think either last week or a few weeks ago, I can't remember exactly, I had Batman 89, and I really, really liked that one. So this one barely, it was a tie between this and the next book that's going to be coming up, but this book was awesome. It is Superman 78, so it is the Christopher Reeves, like, Superman story. It's basically continuing off where I think that first movie ended. I am not completely sure, because they don't really mention a lot, but it is really, really cool. Also, another cool thing that I want to say, they open the first page you see, it opens to a tribute to Richard Donner, who directed the first movie. He actually directed the second movie as well before he got kicked off and fired. But it is really, really cool, because it actually goes through his origin again of showing showing Cal, like, you know, Clark's origin, Kal's origin, how he got off Krypton. But we eventually learn is we got a new villain in this, which is really, really crazy. But, like, so far the art style is really, it's different in comparison to Batman 89. I think I like 89's design a little bit more, but, like, still this, like, design, the art style in this book, who is done by Wilfred Torres, it still kind of matches that, like, kind of fun feeling of the 78 movie, and it's really, really cool because they, like, Clark looks like Christopher Reeve, and, like, Lois looks like Margot Kidder. It looks super, super fun, and, like, Perry, everybody essentially looks how they do in the movie, in the original film is really, really cool. But we eventually learn is that this robot comes down, and we can only assume that this robot is somebody we know. It is kind of a drone for Brainiac, who's just wrecking crap. And you get a really, really cool moment in this where it feels very much like the Christopher Reeve Superman movie, which is super, super cool. Like, these books, these, like, throwback books, because I think after Batman 66, which was, like, a long time ago, I think in 2014 or 2013, I think, and even, like, Wonder Woman, I really wanted them to do 89 and a 78 Superman story, and it's really, really cool. And eventually Superman actually gets in a fight with this robot, and the robot actually, like, takes Superman to town, which is really, really interesting. You don't really see that too often, and you get some, like, the robot and him go through some buildings and everything. But we eventually learn that the robot is eventually defeated, and it sends data to Brainiac, which we eventually see who is going to be the main villain in this book, which I think is kind of cool that they are kind of continuing that, because I think that was, I am not like 100% like a Superman fan of where I know everything about those original Superman movies, but I feel like Brainiac at one point was going to be a villain, but they just never got the chance to do it, so it is kind of continuing this very much like Batman 89. You get to see Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, so that's really, really cool. I really enjoyed this book. Both this and Batman 89, I think, are just super, super fun, very nostalgic. If you really loved this original movie, I would definitely suggest picking this up, just because for me, it really harkens that feel of the Donner film, which I really, really enjoy. So yeah, that's my second recommendation, is Superman 78. Right now, and so now we are on to my final pick for this week, and once again, as I said, it has something to tie with. It is the end of its first story arc, and it is Alien number 6 from Philip Kennedy Johnson, Salvador Lacroix, and Guru Efek, who's doing the coloring. Basically, it's off where we left off a while ago, where basically Iris betrays them, basically knowing a lot more about the Xenomorph than they were initially led on. Eventually, she's calling somebody to basically, it's like, say, hey, we got the Xenomorph, so we're gonna, like, wreck stuff. Eventually, what she doesn't know, Bishop survives, and eventually Gabriel is, like, he's hurt, but, like, he's still able to move. But what we eventually learn, very much like a twist in the original film, Iris is a goddamn robot, which is very, very interesting, because it is actually cool. And they kind of bring up, like, concepts of, like, rogue synthetics who are not necessarily working with Yutani, and it's very much like a Blade Runner situation that you got going on, wanting to be, like, their own autonomous thing, which is really, really cool, which I think is actually alluded to in Aliens Resurrection, where there were, like, a bunch of the synths, essentially, were, oh god, what was it? They had like a civil war, which is really, really interesting. But and Iris eventually and the UA apparently know more about the woman in the dark, who is the kind of still alien. And there's actually which I really love, was they reference Prometheus in this. It's really, really cool, because you actually get to see the black vials and the Xenomorph moral that was on the Juggernaut engineer ship, which is really, really cool. Then we actually get to see more of this specific alien design. The woman in black, essentially, is what we're calling her. The woman in the dark. There we go. And she's very much harkens to, like, this kind of Sill-like alien. So they're really doing a lot of cool and unique things with the xenomorph mythos in this, and like the whole connection with Prometheus kind of shows like, oh, I think they're more going that route instead of the Alien Covenant route, which I really enjoy. Basically what we learn, Gabriel's still arguing with Bishop to get the alien out of Danny. Then eventually Ted Reynolds, who is the commander of Epsilon Station, basically says, hey, you're not taking that alien out. You're going to give us back to the company. And essentially, like, if you don't do this, you're basically screwed. You're going to be, like, tried and everything. So basically, he's having this ultimatum. Then eventually, Gabriel asks, it's like, you know when you called sick that day when I went to the, like, back then when I went to the hive, did you do that intentionally? Then it just cuts off. And he says, goodbye, Gabe, separating the lifeboat from the station itself. Eventually, Gabe goes out there, try to separate the, separate the mechanism to get the lifeboat off the station itself. Then we eventually run into the Alpha, which is this crazy big giant xenomorph thing, which is really crazy. They get into a fight, and eventually Gabe is mortally wounded and manages to get the alien off the ship, basically giving Bishop and Danny a chance at survival. And it's actually really cool, because as soon as Gabe meets his fate, firing into the atmosphere, he doesn't think of, like, when he's dying, he's like, I thought I was going to see her at the end, the woman in the dark, but he actually sees his family, an old family photo of his wife and his 2 kids, Lucas and Danny, as he eventually dies, which I thought was it was a good path of mythos for this character in particular. I was really happy with him, because I really liked Gabriel as a character. Then it cuts a few hours later, Danny has the xenomorph out of his chest, which is kind of cool that they are alluding to that there was a thing Colonial Marines had tied to it, of where it's like, if you take a xenomorph out, it's essentially cancer, it's going to kill you anyway. So they seem to completely retcon that. But basically, Danny is having the dream of this, have troubles with this dream. And it's like, what else did you see in your dreams? So assumingly, he's actually seeing the woman in the dark. And eventually, of course, there's Cat on board, but this cat is not unscathed, because it does have xenomorph facehugger marking, so we're going to get into that next one. Then ultimately, the next issue is in the beginning of a new story arc, is called 7A7, issue 7, Sanctuary. And it's actually really cool. I actually love the cover on the back. Very Dark Horse inspired kind of cover. So yeah, that was Alien number 6. I really enjoyed it. Overall, I love the the complexity of the story. I love the kind of more focus on anti-Weyland Yutani groups, which you normally didn't get to, you get to see that a lot in the Dark Horse comics, but it's actually really good to kind of see them continuing that idea of, like, hey, this corporation's bastards, essentially. And also, delving with, anti-Weyland Yutani groups is really cool. The expansion of the mythos in this new era of Alien, where a lot of the Dark Horse stuff is going to unfortunately get thrown out, probably. They haven't officially said that, but, a lot of it. But much like Star Wars, I feel like they'll take a lot of those ideas, and I think The Woman in Dark is a really cool concept. I'm very interested to see where that goes. The Promethean callback was super cool. Gabriel Diaz as a character, I really enjoyed. I really liked him. I loved his kind of road to redemption from this, of where it's like, as long as I get to, I gave my everything to this company, and he kind of regrets that, which I really like. So I'm interested to see where this is going to go from there, because the next story is kind of on this kind of farm colony, which is going to be very interesting and very cool, I think. So yeah, but so far, the book's been phenomenal. The Alien book was pretty phenomenal. Really great story arc too. If you do want it, the art, I think, is a little hard for a lot of people. There's a lot of people who won't like it in particular, but the writing, I think, is fantastic, and also the art is I kind of like it. I give it a pass because I really enjoy the writing on it, and also a lot of the stuff looks exactly how you would see them in the movie. The Alpha was a really cool design. I hope we get to see kind of more unique xenomorph designs through the film. We're going to see a cat alien eventually. That was teased at the end of that first issue, so I'm very excited to see when the story continues. So, with that being said, that is Mythical Mountain Monday, and as I think I mentioned it at the beginning, but it's my birthday today, so yeah. I mean, I turned 27, so I'm old. But anyway, thank you for, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit the little bell notification so you get notified when we upload Mythical Mountain Mondays, What's in the Box Wednesdays, Figure Review Fridays, and also check us out on Mercari and Instagram and Facebook. All of those links will be down below. So with that being said, guys, I hope your weekend, hopefully your weekend was really, really great, and I hope your week is excellent. With that being said, peace, y'all.